Today's video is going to be all about rendering beef fat into tallow, which is what I make all of my lotions and tallow balm and everything with, also cooking with it. But we're just going to do a old-fashioned render, which is not with water, it's not purified, it's just rendered down into oil. And my niece will be here to help me today, and so we will try to get this done the best that we can. And I love having my little Padawan to help me because she always shows up at the greatest moments whenever I'm about to do something very task related and very in-depth. She shows up to help. So it's great, and I hope you enjoy the process. So we're gonna be rendering tallow today, and we just went and picked up 2 big boxes of beef fat from some friends, and we will be cutting it up into chunks, placing it in this pot, and then simmering it down until we turn this into beautiful golden oil. All right, we're gonna start cutting this up, and Miss Lauren went to wash her hands, and then she's coming back to help me cut. Hopefully not anything on her. And just, we're gonna cut this up into small pieces. Some people grind it. I don't have access to that, but I'm just gonna cube it so that it's small enough to melt faster. Like, this is not a have to, but you would not want to put big pieces like that where it would take a long time. Once I fill this up completely with fat, it usually still takes about 2 to 3 hours or so, sometimes longer, to get all of the fat rendered down. You just simmer it until it's all a beautiful golden oil. But we're just gonna chop up as much as will fit into this pan, which is a 18 liter, which I think is it 14 quarts? Yeah, 18 quarts. 18 quarts. Not liters, 18 quarts. Which does not mean you're gonna get 18 quarts of oil, but you should get close to that because these pieces of meat will get crispy and kind of fry up, and that's where you get your cracklings when you're doing things. There's Miss Lauren. Back. Tell everybody hey.
Hello.
You might have to scrunch down to see them.
Hello.
Scrunch it.
You're so like sour cream. I mean, not sour cream, cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream. It's got coffee in it. It's got coffee grounds in it, so it's like for exfoliating.
That's good, right?
Yep, perfect. Some good looking fat. I don't want it on me, but it's good when it's on the cow.
Does that mean the cow's good?
It's probably got some good flavor. I think this is the, I think these 2 boxes were 2 cows, maybe. I think it was 2 cows. It might have just been 1, but I think it was 2.
What?
Possibly. I'm not 100% on that.
I thought it would have been like 2 cows.
There's a lot of fat on the cow.
Oh, look at this.
So once we get this chopped up and rendered, we will use the oil to make tallow balm and lotion.
Are we making lotion?
We're not making the lotion today, but we are going to put tallow balm into the It's just like a sinew, like a skin in between. It's fine. It can go in there.
Okay.
It'll render out. Okay. But we will fill up bottles of tallow balm when we get this on the oven. We'll be filling up. Yep, tallow balm. So we'll come back in just a little bit when we get this kind of finished up. Just gonna come in and show a little bit of the process. We only have not even one whole cube cut up in there of one of the packages, and Lauren's doing such a great job.
About half
Skills. She's got skills. She's got mad skills.
I got beef skills to pay the beef bills.
Beef skills to pay the beef bills. That's what I'm saying. Watch your fingers, girl. Slow down. Don't get in too much of a hurry. Also, guys, you gotta take breaks because my hands hurt, and we've only got 2 packages, and we're doing, how many are we cutting up? 1, 2, 3, that was 4. There's 5 big, huge packages of the fat that we are thinking will fill up that pot. We put the rest in the freezer because there's probably 12 maybe more. There's probably 12 more in the freezer, 10 or 12 more packs in the freezer that we just put away. So I think this will be enough. I didn't weigh this, but I will weigh it before we break it down to oil and see how much fat is actually on there. But right now we're gonna try to get this apart. It's still kind of frozen, so it's hard to get this. Oh look, there's a cow hair.
Where?
Right there, the cow hair. Ew, that'll render out, it's fine. It's still kind of frozen, so we're having to work with this in small increments. And girl, those need to be cut. She cut these too big. Cut them smaller, girlfriend. So it'll take 8 years to melt. Still working. Last little hunk of fat. And if y'all can, I don't know if y'all can see this, but this, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have bruises right here. So this is the toil that you go through. I'm already white knuckled from gripping this bad boy so hard because this gets really slippery, and like having to saw through it and then chop it is a lot. And I have a little smacking girl over here in the corner who's eating some chips. But the dogs have gotten so many little treats from the meat that's around the fat, so we trim that off, and so they've been eating the high life. And the cracklings that end up on this when I'm done, I actually save all the pieces that do not render down in the freezer and use it as dog treats. So there's always the backup of beautiful dog treats and healthy dog treats with the good fat that they need in for their joints and everything. So we always use every part, don't waste anything. She wants to be a chicken, apparently. We've been having so much fun, and she's been cracking jokes, and it's been hilarious.
Like a ding dong.
So we will come back in just a few minutes when we get this chunk finished up, and I'm gonna try to weigh this, but I don't know how I'm going to since it's so full already. It's a lot. So we'll come back and check in just a few minutes. So here's our pot. It's full to the brim, and I still have this much to go into it, but I'm gonna let this simmer down a little bit before I add it so that I can actually stir and get it off the bottom. I actually may need to take a little bit of this back out just so I have stirring room, but I'm gonna try it. And again, this is a 18 quart pot, so it is very large, and it is full. We weighed the fat after we cut it all up and trimmed the meat off, and we ended up with 25.5 pounds of fat for this big of a pot. So then we will see how many quarts of oil we get once this is rendered down. So we will come back in just a little bit when the process starts so that we can see exactly how it looks. See if you can see what's going on down in the bottom of this pot. But see, it's melting down in there. We're getting some oil at the bottom. It's very important to make sure that you get a good coating of oil in the bottom on a low temperature before you crank it up to render the rest of this. Once this gets to this stage, I'm not as concerned. You don't want it to burn at first. So this is just gonna keep it from burning. So we just keep stirring this. And I did have to take a little bit out so that I could stir. So once this gets good and oily, I'm gonna add the rest of our bowl over here back into our pot. Teach them young how to do all things old-fashioned. Do you enjoy this? What are we about to do, Lauren, after we get this going good?
We're about to make sourdough cheese.
Yes, we are.
If she can find the recipe.
Yes, I'm still looking for it. Little update here. We now have oil coming all the way up the sides. Pretty deep. And it's easy to stir now. It makes it really hard at the beginning, but now all of the fat is getting melty. So it makes it quite easy to stir. And you can see that beautiful sizzling oil at the bottom. And so now I'm gonna add more of our leftover fat to this, just so that we can get it on up a little higher and get it all cooking, so we won't have to be here till midnight, because it will take, like I said before, anywhere up to 3 to 4 hours to get this all the way rendered. Now we're filled back up to the top, and we're just gonna let this cook and stir it periodically. And this is rendering down very well. Lauren, pull it to the side and see if we can see some beautiful oil. Look at all that oil. Lovely.
It's like soup. I could just... But that'd be really gross.
Yes, it would be. Fat soup.
A couple minutes.
This is probably about 2 hours in, and we still have a lot of fat to go, but you can see where the meat is already coming off of the fat and just turning into like little chunks where there is some actual beef. Where there's not, there's just this beautiful liquid gold.
You can also see it boiling.
Mm-hmm.
If you just leave it still, you can see the meat.
It is simmering good.
Oh,
And it's time to check on our sourdough crackers. So about 2.5, 3 hours in, I went ahead and moved all of this into a bowl, and then strained off the oil so that I could get more oil from this. That way it wasn't taking as long for it to melt down. So I ended up part of the way through stopping and getting 2 full quarts of oil, which is now tallow from rendered fat. And this is just like the lard version of a cow. It's just called tallow. So we strain that through a cheesecloth, and I just take my little whatever strainer and put it into this big 8-cup measuring cup and pour it into here, and then I just poured that into here. And so we will keep going, keep stirring, keep watching this until it gets to where all of this beautiful stuff is rendered down. This is the cracklins right here. These are cracklins. that are forming as you do it, which are the best. I mean, you can eat them, use them in your cornbread or whatever, but I just like to put them up for good old dog snacks. And it's already getting back oily again, just even after that, me just dumping this off. Fast pacing back into rendering. But you want to keep some oil in there the whole time so that it doesn't stick, because the bottom of mine was sticking some just because it's such a big pot and you have to keep it off that bottom. But it will burn if you don't stir it all the way to the bottom. And you don't want it to burn. It won't necessarily hurt your tallow, but you probably wouldn't want to use it in skincare if you burn it any. So try not to have any burnt edges or anything like that, and just keep a stir on it every 5 minutes or so to keep it from sticking. Still rendering down. It has been approximately 4 hours. We still have a ways to go, but all of this will not render out. You can see that it's getting darker and crispier the longer it goes. Along with now, I have this one part of the way filled up, but I already have 4 full quarts of tallow that have rendered down. I've just been scooping the oil out and kind of straining it as I go so that this will continue just to melt and just get more and more oil. I feel like it renders faster if it's not covered in oil and I keep the most of the oil off the top of it. So I'm about to go through here about every 10 minutes. I'm coming in and scooping off some oil, so I'm going to see how far we get with that. I'm just going to show you what I have been doing. I have my strainer with my cheesecloth in it, and this is stiff from where it's drying because tallow is a solid oil, not a liquid oil. And so I'm going to come in here with my spoon and just kind of make a little bit of a crevice so that it comes down to the side. And then I'm just going to put this measuring cup in there and just pour. I'm just going to stir it around a little bit. It gets to sticking and popping if you don't move it. Like I said, I moved it a little while ago, but the further it gets down and the crispier these things become, it's actually harder to get the oil out the further it goes. Move that around. We still have a lot of oil in this fat though. And I'm gonna let that kind of come back down to the side here. I really wish I could get an over the top view of this for you. That's good for now. We'll just set this down. I'll let that drain out a little. And then all I've been doing is taking the fat that is in here and just dumping it right back into my pot and then setting this off to the side. And then we have this, and I'm just gonna continue to fill up my quart jars. set it to the side. So now we have a full 5. And we'll start on these couple of pints because I don't have any more clean jars and I will have to go clean them. So we'll top that one off the next round. I'm just gonna bring y'all over here. This little area right here is where it's pooling up. That's where I was getting the oil from. And you can tell how crispy it's getting the more we go. But there's still good oil in this fat right here. These aren't gonna, nothing else is gonna come out of these. That's just a piece of gristle and a crunchy little piece of fat, which is now a cracklin'. We're literally down to the last little bit. It's been a tiring day. We are a little over 7 hours in to this. And like I said, it's not constant. You can do other things while this is going on. I've already made the sourdough Cheez-Its, and I have done some more stuff, and I fed the animals, watered the garden and everything by just coming back periodically and making sure that it is good. But I don't know that I'm gonna get much more. This white has a little bit more oil in it, but this also comes down to when it's this long. It's also great dog food, so it's not wasting it. It's just going right back into the farm. But so far, I ended up with 5 full quarts. And then we have 2, 4, 6, 8 pints. And we may get a little bit more out of this. So I may have another pint in here to get, and then we will call it and save this for dogs' treats. But you can see how close we are to the bottom of the pan now. We're right there. Yep, that's just right there. Just a few inches down. And it's starting to stick, but we still got oil coming out, so I don't want to give up on it just yet, just because of that, all that goodness right there. And like I said, this is really good mix in with your dog food or whatever you want to feed. This is great for their joints, great for their hair. 5 quarts and 9 pints is how much oil, tallow we ended up with 25.5 pounds of chopped up beef fat,